So, we know how to connect a microphone on stage, and that's a lot of what we do. But the other main thing that we have to do on stage is to connect instruments into the mixing desk. And that's slightly different. And that's because instruments, by and large, don't provide us with a 3-pin XLR signal. They provide us instead with, you'll see, like little round holes. So you might have seen on like a guitar, they've got a little round hole on them, or at the back of an electric keyboard, they've got a little round hole. They take that sort of plug, not an XLR plug. So how do we get from there, the instrument, to there, the mixing desk? The answer is, ta-da! A direct inject box, a DI box. This is a brilliant little device that allows you to go from a 2 round pin socket thing to a XLR. It can do other things as well. We won't touch on those right now. We're just looking at the basics and getting it working. So here's how you would get it working, get it connected in. We're going to start with our instrument. So I don't have a guitar or a synth with me on the stage at the moment, but we give one end of that to our guitarist and we say, there you go, plug yourself in. Most guitarists turn up with their own jack lead, and you can get very beautiful esoteric ones if you really love your guitar. So they will often go, they'll plug themselves in and they'll go, where do I plug myself in? The answer is they plug themselves into our DI box. Worth noting that in general, for a guitar, acoustic guitar, a bass guitar, you pick one of these, a blue J48, and we'll look in a moment at the alternatives. You will see on one end you have your round sockets, so this is where you're going to be starting. This one is labelled very, very clearly. Most of them are labelled really unmistakably clearly. This one says input, this one says through. You want to go into the input. Through, it basically then takes just like a link out from there if somebody wanted to plug their tuner in or something else without it affecting the mixing desk. But basic system is you just take thing from the guitar into the input. Make sure none of the buttons are pressed down. You then turn to the opposite end of the DI box, and you'll see here the now familiar XLR options. And as always, you take your XLR cable, and there's only one of these you can put in, and it's this one. And there's only one way round it will go. It will link in and click in. So you can't get it wrong. You want to just check that none of those buttons are down. Have a little press. They all kind of press down. It's very obvious when they're down. You want them all unpressed. And now you've got something very familiar that we know goes to the mixing desk. So let's have a look on the channel plan here. We're going to look for acoustic guitar because this has come to us from an acoustic guitar. It goes into C1. So C in the middle here, it goes down under the hole into socket number 1. And again, we can tidy away loose cable like that, close the lid, and we are done. And this box can go anywhere you fancy. I think either generally put it near the stand for the singer, or often if they've got like a guitar stand, it's quite nice to put it behind them where the guitar stand is, neat and tidy. And you've now connected a microphone and an acoustic guitar. Thinking still about DI boxes, we have 2 different types, and it's really worth knowing what the difference is and which you would choose for different situations. The first one we've looked at is called an active direct box. This is what we use for equipment that is sending us a quiet signal. And generally that means equipment that doesn't have a lot of power in it itself. So if you think about an acoustic guitar and you plug this end into the acoustic guitar does have some power in it actually. They all have a little battery in it, but it's not sending a big signal. It's not many volts at all that's coming to it. So you have an active box which is going to get power from the mixing desk down its XLR line. One of the brilliant things about XLR system is that it can not just receive audio signal, it can send power. So this is going to need to be powered in order to get the signal boosted up enough from our quiet little guitar. And so for a guitar, we choose an active DI box. For something that is mains powered, they generally send much bigger signals. So something like a computer or a keyboard will send much higher voltages down its jack lead into the DI box. So we don't need the active DI box. We don't need any boosting to be happening on stage. We don't need power to be sent from the mixing desk. So we're going to choose a passive direct box. This is passive because it doesn't need to help out the signal in any way. In every other respect though, it's completely the same in terms of using it. So we've got here an input and a through, we've got a button we can press if we want to, and we've got an output. So exactly the same principle. We would go up to our keyboard, we'd find the socket, or we'd ask the keyboard player which of the sockets on the back is the output, and we go, let's put that in there, thanks very much. And then we take this and it would go into the input on this side. We'd rotate it round and we'd take an XLR cable to go in the other end. And as ever, you can't put the wrong sort in. There's only one of the cables, one of the ends of the cable you can put in. You can't have it mal-rotated. Once you get the right place, in it goes and it locks. So that's done. So that's our mono. So this is for a keyboard that's only got one signal, one channel that it's sending to you. You will see that we also have a remarkably similar but subtly different box, which is called Pro D2, and the clue is in the title. This has basically two of everything. It's stereo. So a lot of the keyboards, in fact most of the keyboards we use here are stereo keyboards, and we want to capture both the left and the right. So what we would use instead is a stereo box. Get rid of that one. So here we are saying to the keyboard player, hello there, good morning. I have got a left and a right for you. Please could you plug that into the left and that into the right on your keyboard, please? Thank you very much. And then I'm going to go, here's the left one, and don't be overfaced by the fact there's now 4 sockets here. They're still labelled really clearly. I've got left input, I take the other one, and it's right input. I make sure that the buttons are not pressed down. I turn round, and now I've got 2 plugging in duties. There's the left one, and I'm going to look at the channel list to see where this goes. So let's see, this is keyboard number 1. That's going to go into B3. So that end is going into the floor, socket B3. And then I take the second cable and do exactly the same thing. I plug this one in there, make sure the button isn't pressed down, and I'm going to put this one into B4. Job done.